Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism. We take on a whole variety of issues. Today we're going to take on a co-parenting issue. And just a gentle reminder, our healing program is starting soon. Every month you're going to get closer to your healing destination, but at least get farther on your healing journey. That information, you could just click the link in the video notes and we will be getting a lot more specific information to you soon, but just hit that link so you can get on our list to get all the information as soon as it comes out. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. But let's take on a really interesting question, which is, what do you do if your co-parent is a neglectful narcissist? Any thoughts on that? Let's go. So this series is on co-parenting with the different narcissistic types. One of the challenges with giving co-parenting feedback is that it's a different experience based on the type. So in this series, we're breaking that down. Now, I'd first of all love to know if any of you suspect that your co-parent is a neglectful narcissist. If so, please drop that in the comments. And as I talk more about it, you might say, oh, I didn't even know they were a neglectful narcissist. If you want to, if you feel comfortable, any comments about what this experience of co-parenting with a neglectful narcissist is? Now, the neglectful narcissist, who are they? They are the person who can ghost you while you are in the same room with them. These are the narcissistic folks who have the entire litany of narcissistic qualities, the lack of empathy, the entitlement, all the rest of it. They may be a little bit lighter on the validation seeking, but they will get quite angry if you or other people don't take note of what they want taken note of. They have almost no capacity for empathy or intimacy. They really just don't care. They don't have the obsessive rules and moralism of the self-righteous narcissist, because the self-righteous narcissist can also be quite neglectful. They just aren't that interested in people. And they're often quite annoyed. The neglectful narcissists often get quite annoyed when people ask anything from them. Neglectful narcissists tend to be quite negativistic, especially about things that are sort of the normal things in life that people enjoy or cherish, like vacations or holidays, birthdays, special day out, just anything, last day of school, you name it. The neglectful narcissist basically cannot be bothered with other people unless the neglectful narcissist needs that other person for something. They tend to view other people through what we can call an instrumental or utilitarian lens. Basically, you are merely an object in their environment to get something done. And when they don't need you, then you are an annoyance. A way to understand how they view people. Now, I've been having to travel recently, so let's think of other people to them as a suitcase. Now, a suitcase is really, really useful if you need to pack up your belongings to take a trip or go somewhere. So we're really glad we have the suitcase on the day we're traveling, and we rely on it heavily. Then when we get home and that suitcase is in the middle of the room, we're a bit annoyed by it. We're like, oh God, why is the suitcase in the middle of the room? And we want it out of the way. We might even get angry about it being there because we no longer need it. That's exactly how neglectful narcissistic people view other people. Basically, like a suitcase they no longer need in the middle of the room. Especially, this is how they view the people closest to them. They're useful if they need them, but there's something in the way when they do not need them. And this dynamic happens in close relationships, family relationships, work relationships. But where it is most pronounced is in parenting. As you can imagine, a neglectful narcissist has very little interest in actually being a parent. In fact, I have no idea why any of them have children. They may snuggle the infant for a minute because it's cute when it's not crying. They may take a few pictures with the kids as they grow up. But by and large, the demands of parenting, remember, a child needs things done for them. They're obviously not designed to take care of the parent. But the demands of a child are of absolutely no interest to the neglectful narcissist. Neglectful narcissistic people are very impatient with children. They can get quite prickly when the children demand attention, and they rarely show up to the stuff of parenting, the soccer games, the dance recitals, the pediatrician appointments. And if they do show up, it's very sporadic and it's solely on the basis of what works for the neglectful narcissist. For example, they may show up at the recital or the school event or the doctor's visit if it works perfectly for their schedule, but they will never turn things around to be there for the child. And they will have little to no interest in things like a day at the park, a family hike, or a day at the beach. And they would have no problem on a family vacation letting you manage the children while they go sit someplace with a book or go play the rounds of golf that they want to play, and not including any of you and actually being quite inconvenienced when anyone asks anything of them. It's also a wonder to me that neglectful narcissistic people ever get married or ever get into long-term relationships. Perhaps the neglectful narcissists succumb to societal or familial pressure. Perhaps it's cultural. Perhaps they like the functions that a partner could serve. It's almost like you get a personal assistant or a maid. It's easy in the beginning to write off the neglectful narcissist patterns as that they're very busy or they're introverted or they're stressed. But you begin to see that they aren't interested in anyone, not you, not your kids. And when they are interested in someone, it's almost always because they're going to get some short-term gain from it. If you are co-parenting with a neglectful narcissist, you are in essence a single parent with the headache of this person sitting in your house and leaving you feel like you're a little bit crazy because you aren't ever seen or heard. You literally feel as though you're talking to a wall. What is heartbreaking about co-parenting with a neglectful narcissist is watching your children trying to get noticed by their neglectful narcissistic parent. Even if you as an adult begin to understand what neglectful narcissism is about, your children don't. And watching your children try harder and harder to get their neglectful parent to notice them and just constantly be pushed away and then the child becomes anxious. They think it's their fault. The child thinks it's their fault that they're not able to win over their parents' attention. Or the child may act out to get to get the parents' attention. All of that, to witness that is devastating. So after hearing all of that, do any of you think you're co-parenting with a neglectful narcissist? Drop it in the comments and let us know what your experiences are. Again, only if you feel comfortable. So what should you do if you think you are co-parenting with a neglectful narcissist? Number one, you've got to radically accept and understand that you are a single parent with the pain in the ass sitting in your house. Do not ever rely on them. Do not make plans around them, and do not ever expect them to be interested. Realistic expectations and radical acceptance all the way around. Reasonably, you assume your co-parent will step up sometimes. That's a good assumption, but they're never going to do it. And this can result in some small and big disasters. You may make the mistake of relying on them just to have them do things like feed the children badly or not at all. They'll take a nap and leave the children unsupervised. They'll forget to pick children up from school or activities, forget to give the child medication they need. The only thing you can do is to make arrangements for that important stuff in any way you can. Babysitters, other hired helpers, family, friends. But what's so painful is I definitely recognize that this may not always be possible. So you will get exhausted trying to be both parents to your children, especially if you're also doing other things like working outside of the house. Realistic expectations and radical acceptance. I cannot stress that enough. Number two, here's another piece of radical acceptance. You are never going to be able to teach the neglectful narcissist about what being a parent is or point out what they're doing wrong. They do not care. The deep technique matters deeply here, pun intended. Do not defend, do not explain, do not engage. People are so tempted to want to sit down and talk to the neglectful narcissist and teach them and explain to them what a good parent is. You're just exhausting yourself, depleting your bandwidth, and getting nowhere. And remember that P is for personalize. Don't personalize it. It's definitely not you. It's them. Number three, notice your children twice as much as a parent would, because their other parent is not noticing them. So if you're co-parenting with a neglectful narcissist, you really need to be tuned in and plugged in with your child to notice them, their interests, their feelings, their friendships, their triumphs, their frustrations. It's all you. And when a child has a neglectful narcissistic parent, this becomes even more important because your child has absolutely zero mirror in that parent. That lack of mirroring can take long-term tolls on a child. Be that mirror. Be a damned house of mirrors for your child. Remember, When you're co-parenting with a narcissistic parent, it still only takes one good parent and you'll do right by your child. Number 4, make special moments special for your children, with or without the neglectful narcissist around. Believe it or not, it would be a win if the neglectful narcissistic parent doesn't show up. Yeah, your child may be sad for a minute, wondering why didn't they show up. But you are choosing between pains in this relationship. And having the dark cloud of the neglectful narcissist sort of grumping around the birthday party or grumping around and complaining in the theme park is a waste of time, and it ruins the day. And it may leave your child and you even feeling more anxious. Do not ever expect the neglectful narcissistic parent will be interested or that they will help you plan an event. You have to be the one who makes things special for your children on their special days. This may also mean being involved in their school or other activities they do. Remember, it takes one good parent to help a child feel valued. Knowing that that other parent doesn't care is not easy, but that's what it takes. Number 5, don't try to engage the neglectful parent and try to draw them in. Many times you might do things like trying to show them what the kids are doing, just to throw your kid the bone of like, look, they like your pictures. You might say like, hey, look at the Lego house that they built, or look, they got this big award at school, or it'd be so much fun. Look at these pictures. We could go camping by this river. Again, the neglectful narcissist has no interest, and trying to draw them out often just plays on their irritability and hurts everyone more. Once again, we're back to the radical acceptance. Number 6, please take care of you. Seek out therapy, some form of support with someone who gets it to talk it out and hopefully helps you not personalize these patterns. Friendship, social support, perhaps getting involved in groups that involve the children. When you have someone who simply does not acknowledge you, having spaces where you are seen is absolutely essential. There's also a risk when you're in a relationship with a neglectful narcissist of being distracted by your own distress when you're in this kind of a relationship. And that can take a toll on your children, since they're already not being mirrored by their other parent. Like to co-parent with a neglectful narcissist means you have to be on. Number 7, therapy for your children. Keep an eye on your kids, because having a neglectful narcissistic parent really does take a toll on children. While one good mirrored parent is often enough, the child is still wondering why. Why don't they want to notice me? The children wonder, why don't they participate? Why don't they notice us? It's as much of a challenge as if the parent actually got up and left the family. Being abandoned, frankly, while a person is still physically there, is in some ways even worse, because the child will keep trying to get that parent's notice because they're physically there and fail. The neglectful narcissistic parent being physically present is a constant reminder to the child of not being seen, and then the child may believe they don't deserve to be seen. Therapy can become an important tool, as can be creating good relationships with the children's teachers to monitor any changes academically, socially, emotionally, or behaviorally, but as always, to seek out a therapist who gets these patterns. Well, what if you're divorced and co-parenting with a neglectful narcissistic ex-partner? Number 1, everything I just said, all the points I just made. And this is strange, but in a strange way, paradoxically, it can be a little bit of an easier journey than with the other narcissistic types post-divorce, because the neglectful narcissistic parent may not be interested in custody, but they also will not be interested in paying child support. Even if the neglectful narcissistic parent does get some custody, not surprisingly, they may try to shirk their days and times, which is actually a good thing. However, it can still be confusing for the child, who will feel abandoned by that parent and may blame themselves. So therapy, just as I said earlier in this video, for your child becomes really important. Number 2, you got to keep records. Keep records of all the times the neglectful narcissistic parent doesn't show up. Ultimately, it may allow for a revised parenting agreement and custody agreement if this whole issue gets hauled back into court. And you were already a single parent when you were in the relationship. You just had this person sitting in the house at the same time. On the days you get your children, even if it's because the neglectful co-parent didn't take their days, take them. And make sure you always have in place a good backup plan for childcare, driving, all the rest of it. You're going to need it, but at least you'll be there with your child. The more days they have with you, honestly, probably the better off they'll be. I have most pointedly seen this neglectful narcissistic abuse style occur in folks whose cultures or social norms pressured marriage and pressured family as an important thing to do. The neglectful narcissists in general would have done just fine in their lives alone, and yet they get married or get into long-term relationships because it would make them look better maybe in the workplace or to assuage this family or cultural pressure, so they went with it. I guess sometimes they see the arrival of a partner as the arrival of a maid, a cook, as another source of income or a personal assistant, and their children will remain completely uninteresting to them until maybe sometimes one day down the road, perhaps if that neglectful narcissistic person needs help or money, they may hit those children up for help. It's unfortunate. Neglectful narcissistic people are simply not able to parent, and the children end up carrying that legacy. And many, many children in the long term, after they've had a neglectful narcissistic parent, will often wonder, what do I need to do to get someone's attention? Because such a primary relationship was characterized by simply not being noticed. It's not an easy path, and I do believe we actually don't talk enough about neglectful narcissism. It's a style that comes up more than you would think. And it's particularly tragic when these people have children. Thanks again. Thanks for tuning in, and look forward to next time.